Welcome to Chandwell. I had a question on YouTube from Ewan at the Growler Blackwood N Gauge layout asking about the size of Chandwell, and I realised I've never really given an overview of how Chandwell fits into the real life of the house, so this video is to address that. The layout runs around two walls of my garage, which is also my office where I work. The Fiddleyard at this end is exactly 1 metre long. That's just long enough to get one loco and 5 coaches, I think. I've done videos of the cassettes I use before. Leaving the Fiddleyard, the tracks come through what will be the only countryside looking scenic area on the layout. The tracks come out and they join into the junction and then immediately go onto the viaduct. This wall after the Fiddleyard is 1.23 metres, giving a total length of this wall almost 2.5 metres. The tracks gradually turn through 90 degrees onto the second wall of the layout. This is a longer wall. This is almost 2.5 metres. It's 2 metres and 43 centimetres. That gives just enough space for a decent length station. So if we take a look from the station, back along the wall and around the curve of the tracks, you get a good view of what Chandwell actually will look like. The vast majority of it will be the viaduct. So what about the track plan itself? I based it more or less on Bradford Interchange in the north of England. That track is on a straight, not a curve, but I copied the position of the points, or at least the sequence of the points, one by one from Google Maps. I think it works quite well. What it does is it enables us to have as many different combinations of arrivals and departures from each platform and to each side of the junction as possible. It gives a really interesting operating sessions. I've added a few crossovers in the station which Bradford doesn't have anymore. This is Chandwell's control panel, and I just want to show you a little bit of how it's wired. It's a DC layout. I work with software all day, so I think DCC is a little bit too close to the day job, and I wanted to concentrate on something completely different and learn some new things. This is the wiring. It goes from the control panel, which is built into the cupboards in the garage, and it is soldered from there through the switches to a distribution solder tag where everything goes from. Layout power is taken from a cased Gauge Master transformer. I've tried to be as neat as possible with the wiring. It's glued using hot melt glue gun glue, and it's soldered to little distribution solder tags dotted around through the cupboards. If we can get into the next cupboard, you should see an example of what I mean. If we can squeeze in past the tins, and particularly past these potatoes, you should see an example of some wiring that's inside the cupboard. It's high enough above the contents of the cupboard to not get in the way. Try to be as neat as possible. Each area is labelled with colour-coded and numbered labels, and they are then transposed into a wiring book that I keep. So what's coming up in the next 9 years or so? Above the tunnels here is going to be some kind of back street of houses. Down here on this road, which crosses the tracks at an oblique angle and goes through my skew girder bridges, will be the bakery, which I've already shown, as well as a pub and some other commercial buildings. Behind those, the ground will descend to a river. The river again crosses the tracks at an oblique angle and will go through a lovely skew iron girder bridge. The viaduct, once crossing that bridge, will then curve through an industrial inner city of some type. I'm thinking dirt and grime aplenty and dilapidated buildings. We eventually will arrive at this wide road. This wide road will be some kind of high street. It goes through the skew arch bridge that I've already talked about and out the other side. I think that will look really good with the street going past the bridge. On the corner of that street will be a curved hotel. I really want a 90-degree curving hotel like the ones you see in Leeds and Ilkley. Coming up the hill along some commercial high street, shops and things, we'll end up at the station. This side will be ancillary buildings, with the main station building modelled as though it's off to the right. Behind the station, on top of a low retaining wall, will be industrial mill of some type. Long bricks, lots of windows, and lit from within. It'll look really good. And that is Chandwell, or certainly the plan for it.